How's it going, guys? It is MattySports here, bringing you my Week 7 predictions of the 2013 college football season. Now, you might notice it's kind of like a different background, and that's because I basically turned it around because there is a glare coming through my window since I'm recording this later. So that's why it's like this. But anyway, last week I went finally another great record since week 1. I went 8-2, and I missed my upset special again. But other than that, 8-2, it's great to have a great record like that again. Haven't had an 8-2 record or higher since week 1. But with that being said, we're on to week 7, and I have 10 more games here for you guys. So let's get on with the first game of a top 25 matchup of number 25 Missouri traveling on the road to number 7 Georgia. Now, the number 25 team Maryland lost last week against the number 6 team Florida State. And they were on the road, and Georgia's at home, so this is an easy win for Georgia. However, Georgia did struggle on the road against Tennessee last week, so I think they might still be hungover from that narrow escape victory. So I expect Missouri coming out to making it a close game, but I see Georgia coming away in the end. Next up, we have the Red River rivalry, or Red River Shootout, or Red River Showdown, however you want to call it, of number 12 Oklahoma versus Texas and Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. Now, I see Oklahoma winning because Texas has not been who we thought they would be this year, and Oklahoma has surprisingly been doing well so far, and because of that, I see Oklahoma winning. Plus, they have dominated this rivalry in the past recent years, so I don't see that changing, and I see Oklahoma winning. Next up, we have an ACC Coastal Showdown of Pittsburgh traveling on the road to number 24 Virginia Tech. Now, Pittsburgh's only loss in the ACC has come to Florida State, and Virginia Tech is still undefeated in the ACC. So this is a very important game to kind of determine who's the top teams in the ACC Coastal. And if Pittsburgh win this, it can be a three-way race between Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, and Miami. But if Virginia Tech ends up winning this game, then it's just going to be a race between Miami and Virginia Tech. So this is a pretty important game in the Coastal Division, but I see Virginia Tech winning because they are at home, and Virginia Tech has been playing better recently, especially their defense, so I see Virginia Tech coming away with the win here. Next up, we have number 17 Florida traveling on the road to number 10 LSU. Now, this is a very good rivalry. It's not considered that big of a rivalry, but Florida and LSU do play every year because they are their primary crossover opponents, so I see LSU winning because they are at home, and even though Florida has recovered from Jeff Driscoll's injury and they've had a great substitute, I see LSU winning because Zach Mettenberger has been playing really well this season, and it is always difficult to win at LSU. It is probably the toughest stadium to play in, so because of that, I see LSU winning. Now we have a Big Ten matchup of Indiana traveling on the road to Michigan State. Now this game is kind of hard for me to pick because Indiana has been surprisingly good this year. They came off of a win against Penn State last week, which is the first time they have ever beaten Penn State. But Michigan State, they've been kind of coasting as well. They've only lost one game, and they're kind of doing alright, and they are at home, so for that I'm picking Michigan State over Indiana. But I do expect Indiana to keep it close, though. Next up, we have a non-conference game between Georgia Tech traveling on the road to BYU. Now, this game is really, really difficult for me to pick. I initially have Georgia Tech winning, but I'm not sure if I should pick BYU now because BYU is at home, and their defense is really good, but Georgia Tech has that triple option with Vad Lee, so I'm not sure, but it's really a tough game for me to pick. I'm going to go with BYU, actually. I had Georgia Tech, but I have BYU winning because they are at home, and I think the altitude could get to Georgia Tech's offense, and because of that, I think BYU can pull off with a win here, but it'll be a really close game. Next up, we have another Big Ten matchup with number 18 Michigan traveling on the road to Penn State. Now, this game's kind of easy for me to pick. I like Michigan in this game. They did come off with a win against Minnesota last week, and Michigan did look somewhat impressive. And Penn State came off of a loss to Indiana. And even though Penn State is at home, I don't see Michigan being phased, and I see Michigan winning this game. Now, next up we have a Pac-12 game, and this is a game I didn't even pick a winner yet. I was going to pick it on camera right here because it is really tough for me to pick. And it is Oregon State traveling on the road to Washington State. Now, this game, I don't even know. Washington State is at home and Oregon State on the road. You know what? I'm going to go with Washington State. This probably is kind of an upset, but this is not my upset special. I'm going to go with Washington State because they've been surprisingly well this year. They haven't been this good since like 2002, 2003, I think. And I'm just feeling Washington State. You know that flag that flies around on game day? I'm just feeling them because Oregon State did lose that to an FCS team early in their first game of the season. So that's the only reason why I'm picking Washington State, but this game's too tough for me to pick, but I'll go with Washington State. Next up, we have my upset special, which is actually kind of a big one. And it is number 19, Northwestern, traveling on the road to Wisconsin. Now, I have Wisconsin winning this game because Wisconsin is actually surprisingly a tough place to play on the road. And Northwestern did come off of that heartbreaking loss to Ohio State. Northwestern had a really great shot at winning that game, but they couldn't come away with the win, which is really unfortunate. But I think Northwestern's still going to be annoyed, saddened about that loss. And I think Wisconsin's going to take advantage of that at home, and I see Wisconsin pulling off an upset here. And now we have the marquee game of the week, where College Game Day will be going to, and it is number 2 Oregon traveling on the road to number 16 Washington. It's kind of funny how it worked out because Oregon State travels on the road to Washington State, and Oregon travels on the road to Washington. So it's like both of the Oregon and Washington schools both travel to like the same place, and it's kind of cool how it fell down like that. But I have number 2 Oregon winning because Oregon, they're simply Oregon. They're too fast, they have too great of an offense, and their defense is not that bad either. And they have a couple of players, including Marcus Mariota, who can lead that offense to incredible amount of points. However, Washington is at home, and Washington is a great team at home. They pulled off the upset against Stanford last year, and they almost pulled off the upset against Stanford last week. I mean, they lost by it was a really close margin. But Washington, I don't think is going to have enough. But Washington does definitely, they have a good chance of upsetting, but Oregon, too fast, too much speed. I see Oregon winning this game. But that is it for Week 7, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below of what I picked in these games or any other games you guys are looking forward to this weekend that I did not cover. But I guess that's it. I hope you all have enjoyed, and I'll see you for Week 8, where we'll have some big games that weekend. See you guys then. This has been MattySports, and I'll catch you guys later.